There was a woman who had a 6-year-old son. One day, she bought a new mobile phone. When she came home from work, she started cooking dinner and left her phone down on the kitchen table. Her son came into the kitchen and saw the phone. He asked his mother if he could play with it. She told him that he could, as long as he did not call anyone or delete any text messages. Of course, the boy agreed and went off to his bedroom to play with the phone. Around 10 p.m. that night, she went upstairs to tuck in her son and found him fast asleep on his bed. The new cell phone was lying on the ground beside the bed. She picked it up and began browsing through the settings to make sure he had not deleted anything. She noticed some minor changes. He had changed the theme, the background, and had given her a new ringtone. She noticed that he had taken some pictures with the cell phone. She opened the images folder and browsed through them. How cute, she thought. He had been taking pictures of himself. Then she came across the last photo in the folder. When she first saw it, she couldn't quite believe it. Were her eyes playing tricks on her? It was a photograph of her son, lying asleep on her bed. But the disturbing thing was what was lurking in the far left corner of the picture. It seemed to show the left side of a creepy old woman's face. Granny locked me in my room and she won't let me out. She says it's because I was bad. Sometimes I do bad things. Ever since my mommy went away. Granny says my mommy is in heaven. I don't know how she got there. I can still remember Mommy. I remember her long black hair and her dark eyes. I remember her red lips and her white teeth. I remember her. I remember her soft skin. I remember the way she smelled. Her red dress still smells like her. It's hanging in the wardrobe in her bedroom. Granny keeps Mommy's room locked. She says I'm not allowed in there, but I know where she hides the key. Sometimes, when Granny falls asleep, I sneak in there and smell Mommy's red dress. I have a friend called Marianne. She lives across the street. Sometimes she comes over to my house to play. She came over today. We were playing with dolls. Granny told me, "Don't go into your mother's room." "Okay," I said. When Granny took her nap, I told Marianne, "Let's play dress up." I took the key from Granny's hiding place and unlocked the door to Mommy's bedroom. We went inside. It was almost too dark to see. "This is where my mommy lives," I said. "You don't have a mommy," Marianne said. That made me angry. I opened the wardrobe and took out the red silk dress. "This is my mommy's dress," I said. I held it up to show her. "It stinks," Marianne said. "No, it doesn't," I said. "It smells like flowers." "It smells like dead things," she said. That made me even more angry. "Who's that?" asked Marianne. She was pointing at a picture. "That's my mommy," I said. "Isn't she beautiful?" "She's ugly," Marianne said. "She has creepy eyes and her teeth are weird." "No, she hasn't," I said. "She looks like the most beautiful girl in the world." "She looks like a dead thing," Marianne said. That made me angriest of all. I don't remember what happened next. I think I heard Marianne screaming. I don't remember why. It was dark and I almost couldn't see. Couldn't hear anything except Marianne screaming. I think something bad happened. Then I remember Granny shouting at me. She was crying too. She took the red dress off me. She was really rough and she kept hitting me. I was crying uncontrollably. Granny fetched a washcloth and wiped the blood off my face. She told me over and over how bad I was. Then she dragged me all the way upstairs and locked me in my room. I looked out the window. I saw Granny in the backyard. She was burying something with a shovel. Must have done something really bad.
Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon for more videos.
Samantha had two best friends named Jenny and Amber. Her father was taking her on a weekend vacation, and she invited them to come along. Her family owned a cabin in the woods, and on Friday evening, her father drove the girls there. "See that lake?" asked Samantha when they arrived. "That's Lake Samantha. My dad grew up here. He loved it so much, he named me after it." That night, after they had unpacked their things, the three girls sat around and thought of ways to amuse themselves. "Does anyone have any spooky stories?" asked Amber. "I have one," said Jenny. "It's a true story, too. It happened to a friend of mine. She was babysitting these two little kids one night. She was sitting in the dark by herself watching TV, and the phone rang. She goes over and answers it and heard a voice on the other end breathing real heavy, and it said, 'Have you checked on the children?'" "Jenny, come on," Amber interrupted. "Everyone's heard that one. That's the lamest scary story ever. Does anyone else have a story, one that's actually true?" "I know one," said Samantha. "About 10 minutes hike from here, there's an old, broken-down house. We passed it by on the way up here. It's out in the middle of nowhere, way of a little, narrow side road. A long time ago, a man lived there. His whole family was really wealthy, and they owned hundreds of acres of land around here. This man met a simple country girl, and they fell in love. His family wasn't too happy about it. They didn't think the girl was good enough for him, but he ignored them. He was an independent guy, and he went off and built a little house on a chunk of their land. He married this girl, and everything was wonderful. They had a daughter first, and after a few years they had a son too. This is where the story starts to go bad. Their son was sick, not physically, but mentally. He was sick in the head. He wasn't mentally disabled or anything. He was just a little off. By the time he was 9 years old, he became too much for his parents to handle, throwing temper tantrums, erratic sleeping patterns, disappearing into the woods and hiding, those kinds of things. Not knowing what to do about his son, the man turned to his family for help. His parents had taken the boy away. They sent him to a place deep in the woods. It wasn't an insane asylum, but it catered to people with special needs, if you know what I mean. His parents thought it was for the best. Over time, the family got used to not having him around. They gradually stopped visiting him. They functioned as if they had never even had a son, and everything went back to being wonderful again. 8 years later, the boy, who was about 16 or 17 at the time, managed to escape from the hospital. The staff did a search, but he was nowhere to be found. His family was notified. They were devastated. They were worried for his safety. He had been alone in the wilderness for weeks, and he was probably dead. But the boy wasn't dead. One night, he found his way back home. He crept into his house, and one by one, he slaughtered his father, his mother, his sister, all of them, chopped to pieces. With the blood still dripping from his axe, he disappeared into the woods. When the grisly remains of his family were discovered a few days later, townsfolk in the surrounding area were horrified. The police tried to find the boy, but it was of no use. To this day, he has never been found. Since then, every year around harvest time, people start to go missing, and in their place, a doll will be left behind. Legend has it, the boy still roams the woods around these parts. Chopped to pieces. With the blood still dripping from his axe, he disappeared into the woods. When the grisly remains of his family were discovered a few days later, townsfolk in the surrounding area were horrified. The police tried to find the boy, but it was of no use. To this day, he has never been found. Since then, every year around harvest time, people start to go missing, and in their place, a doll will be left behind. Legend has it, the boy still roams the woods around these parts. The surrounding towns have bought into the legend, and they hang dolls on their front door for protection. They say that if the boy sees a doll hanging on the door of a house, he will pass by the house and leave the residents in peace. Nobody knows if it's true or not, but there's a doll hanging on every door of every house in town. "That's so creepy," cried Jenny. "Do you have a doll on your door?" "Of course," said Samantha. "My dad says he doesn't believe in legend, but we hung one up just in case." Apparently, the house is still haunted by the ghosts of his murdered family again, and if you go up there late at night, you can hear the whole thing take place all over again. "Do you think we could go up there?" Jenny asked. "Sure," said Samantha, "but tomorrow, during daylight. There's no sense in tempting fate." That night, the girls slept in the same room and huddled together, trying to pretend they weren't frightened by the story and expecting to hear something tapping at the window at any moment. The next morning, Samantha's father made them all a big breakfast and they went down to the lake for a swim. Around noon, they decided to make the trip up to the old haunted house. When they got there, the girls sensed an eerie presence in the old, dilapidated place. It was enough to make their skin crawl. They explored the ruins of the old house, peeking into corners and sitting through the rubble. After a while, Samantha spotted something half buried in the dirt. It was some sort of book. She dug it out and dusted it off. The kids gathered around as she opened it and began to flip through the yellow pages. "It looks like a diary or something," said Samantha. "Maybe it's his diary," Jenny whispered. "Whose diary?" asked Amber. "The guy," said Jenny. "The guy that killed his family." Samantha read the diary aloud as the others listened. "There's a dedication inscribed inside the cover," she said. It reads, "To my family, who I love and cherish, and who will always be with me." September 5th, 1987. It has been hard alone. All they had to do was talk to me. They could not talk to me. I hear their voices late at night sometimes. Sometimes I hear their screams. It is cold and dark. I needed love. They did not love me. I am free, free from all of them. If they could not love me, they had to go. Dark sleep for everyone. I still hear their voices, always screaming. December 4th, 1987. People have stopped looking for me. It is okay for me now. I live in the forest. I chase down the animals and put them in dark sleep just like Mom and Dad. And Sis. I visit my old house at night. I listen to the voices. At least they talk to me now. October 3rd, 1995. I left the forest years ago and moved into a small town nearby. Nobody recognizes me. No one knows who I am. I hear people telling my story sometimes. It makes me laugh inside. They all fear me. I still come to the forest sometimes. I spend the nights in my old house. Mom and Dad still talk to me. They say they are very proud of me. November 2nd, 1988. Life has been good. I found a job. I bought a house. I met a girl. She is very quiet and pretty. Sometimes I bring her to the forest. She likes it. I let Mom and Dad see her. They like her. July 1st, 2000. Today is a great day. I have a baby now. I am so happy. Mom and Dad are grandparents now. My wife isn't doing so well, though. It was hard for her. She might not make it. Maybe she will go in dark sleep. August 13th, 2010. I am so proud of my child. She is just like me, except she is much smarter. She has no problems. She doesn't hear the voices. She goes to school and has lots of friends, not like me. Sometimes I take her to the woods. I love her so much. I named her after the lake. Samantha. For a few moments after Samantha stopped reading, there was a stunned silence. "What the heck?" cried Jenny. "Samantha, is this some sort of joke?" Amber asked nervously. "It isn't funny." This can't be true," Samantha whispered. "It couldn't possibly be." Just then, they heard the sound of twigs snapping behind them. When they turned around, they saw Samantha's father standing there. The There was a strange, pained look on his face, and he was holding an axe in his hands. "You weren't supposed to find that," he muttered. "There's no other way now. Dark sleep for everyone." "No, Dad!" Samantha screamed. "No, no, no!" When Samantha's father had finished chopping up the bodies, he put the pieces in a large plastic bag and buried them deep in the woods so that no one would ever find them. Now they could be together forever. "I will watch over you now," he mumbled as he patted down the earth with his shovel. "You may not understand, but you will in time. This is the only way for us to be together. Dark sleep forever. We all stay together."
Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon for more videos.
It was the middle of the night and I was in the bedroom trying to relax. Changed the channel on the TV and I saw that the local news was on. At the bottom of the screen, there was a breaking news alert. "Murderer on the loose, hiding in the vicinity. Police warning everyone to be on the alert. Suspect is armed and dangerous." I was just drifting off to sleep when I was awakened by a strange noise downstairs. It sounded like there was someone in the house. At that moment, my heart began beating fast and I broke into a cold sweat, straining my ears to listen. I thought I heard another noise. It was the sound of the door creaking. It wasn't my imagination. There was someone in the house. "I have to get out of here fast," I thought. I slipped off the bed as quietly as possible and crept towards the window. My body was shaking with fear and I was hoping I didn't make any noise. Just then I heard faint footsteps making their way up the stairs. It sounded like more than one person. At any second they would burst through the door. I had to get away. I climbed out the window onto the garage roof, moving as fast as I could without making too much noise. At the edge of the roof I grabbed the drain pipe and lowered myself down until I dropped into the garden. As I paused, I looked up at the window I had just escaped from and saw the lights had been switched on. Well, that was close, I thought. Chill ran down my spine as I thought, what would have happened if they caught me? I made my way to the bottom of the garden and into the woods. Once I was safely hidden by the trees, I broke into a run. I pushed onwards, stumbling through the darkness, moving through the undergrowth until I came to another housing estate. Clutching my knife, I headed towards another house.
Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon for more videos.